Yeah. All right. You guys can get started whenever you like.
Okay. All right. Give me 1 second. Okay. So today we'll just be doing actually a lot of stuff. We're doing HTTP methods, and we'll just be talking about SSL and then some framework stuff. It'll be fun. Keshav?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So we'll start out with talking about HTTP methods. So HTTP, it stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. I'm sure a lot of you know this. It's pretty much at the beginning of like any website URL you go to. So you've probably seen at least HTTP before. But these methods are essentially used to enable communications between a client and a server. So, for example, when a client, say maybe like a browser, sends an HTTP request to a server, the server returns some sort of response to the client, and the response will usually contain status information about the request, as well as whatever requested content, whether it's like a website or a query from a database or something like that. And then there's a lot of different methods for HTTP requests and methods, but some of the most popular ones are GET and POST. So we're going to go over those two. So the GET is used to request data from a specified resource. And GET requests, they can be cached and they're going to remain in your browser history. And because of that, you do want to be cautious. You do want to be cautious with GET requests. You want to make sure not to use it for like any sensitive data because it's stored in like history and all. That can cause a lot of problems, like security problems. And then additionally, this is only like read-only, so this is only used to request data. You cannot like modify or update data with a GET request. But if you do want to like modify, or if you do want to like create or update a resource, you can use the POST method, which is used to send data. And POST requests are not cached and they don't remain in the browser history.
Okay. Well, yeah. So here's like an example of like what was an HTTP request. Generally we'll have like the method here and then which part of what part of it, and you'll notice that there's like this little header called cookie right here. Cookies are basically like these little parts of they'll usually be stored on the browser, and then they'll be included in the HTTP request. And we usually use these to like store info on users, track users. I'll explore this a bit more, but in a later slide. But just know that they're there and they're like a header and they're stored in the HTTP request. And yep. Okay, so you'll hear this term SSL and TCL, but it's actually TLS. Sorry, I got my TV brand is TCL, and I keep thinking of that. And yeah, so what is SSL and TLS? They're basically the same thing. SSL is an older version of TLS. It's also TLS is compatible with SSL. The main thing that you have to worry about, main thing you just need to know about is that this technology just lets you have a private interaction with two computers, so other people on the network won't be able to listen into what you're doing. For instance, there was a old extension in around like 2010. It was called Firesheep, and it let you capture. It let you see other people's login information just by this extension because they weren't encrypted, and this won't happen again. And you also see like a bunch of this is kind of a side thing, but like you'll see a bunch of like VPNs like, oh, we'll encrypt your data and other things, but this TSL and SSL already do that. The only thing you would use a VPN for other reasons, and yeah. All right, so concept and frameworks. The first thing we'll just talk about is like idea of state. Really, the only thing you need to think about is just that for different users, we want to show different things. For instance, like right now, we've been showing you that static websites, like everybody goes to this URL and it shows them this page, But what if you want to show them like other things, like for instance, Schoology? What if you're a teacher and you want to edit like assignments and seat students, or if you're like a store and you want to recommend stuff, you want to show other things to different users, and that's why we have state. It like basically it tells you like it's like a concept in web development that will show unique pages to different users, and frameworks will help in that. And yeah, that's pretty much we use cookies to like inform us like who is who. For instance, that session ID will usually point to different like data, like, and yeah.
Okay, and then we'll also talk a little bit about the model view controller sort of design pattern. So it's a design pattern which is used for developing interfaces, and this allows us to divide our program into three connected elements, essentially. So it'll also allow us to separate the ways that information is represented between like the internal representation and the representation that the user sees. So we'll start with talking about the model component. So the model, usually in the model, you'll be handling like the data related logic, and this could even include things like querying a database and such. Also, you'll receive user input from the controller. In most cases, the controller can request data through the model. And then in some frameworks, actually, the model can directly update the view, but in most cases, you'll be having the controller which updates the view and everything. And then we have the view. So, intuitively, it's pretty intuitive that you'd think like this is what the user sees. So that's correct. It's like the UI, as well as, some applications, they'll have like multiple views of the same information. And this is pretty useful in maybe if you have like different users or different types of users. Say if you are at a company, maybe the management team might see a bar chart representation, while the analyst team sees like a regression plot or that shows like much more information that could be more useful for their job. So you could have like different views for different users and such. And the view also usually consists of HTML and CSS with dynamic values sent from the controller. So because you're receiving a lot of dynamic values in the view, you're likely going to be using like a template or some sort of template engine in order to, so that you can update your view for those dynamic values. Okay, and then finally, there's like the controller, which the controller, it just accepts input and converts it into commands for either the model or the view. And the controller usually processes the HTTP requests. So like we talked about earlier today, there is like the get, post, put, and head. There's some other HTTP requests as well. And then there's okay, so yeah, Karthik asked what does database DB stand for? It's just database. Yeah. So and then the controller is also kind of like a middleman in this model, in this like the model in view. For example, like the controller requests the model to query content from this database, the DB in the bottom right. And then the controller could like pass that data on to the view, and the template engine will create like the UI from there.
Okay,
Yeah, so,
and is that it?
yeah.
Okay, and Kento, you want to talk about what was it, Vue.js, I think?
Yeah, so I want to do like a quick demo to show like how powerful this can be. Let me share my screen. So as you may know, we're gonna be building some like app kind of thing later in the semester. So I think I'm still brainstorming like ways we can approach this, and I think I'm gonna go with Vue because it's so easy to adopt pretty much. So yeah, this is a completely new project that I made. It's just called Framework Demos. I'm gonna zoom in a little. So here's my terminal. I created this Vue project up here. Okay, and inside I just have this folder, so I'm going to go into the folder. All right, and then I have all these files that are pre-generated. All right, so let's open them in Visual Studio Code that we installed last week. So wait a bit. Bam. I know Ronok's crying right now because I'm not using Vim, but I know he's crying right now. All right, let me all right, so we have this this looks like a normal project. There's just files in here. So we open this app.vue file, and it kind of looks like HTML, kind of looks like JavaScript. This kind of looks like CSS. That's because it is. Basically, Vue is pretty much just whatever we learned so far, but then with like a small twist. So see this hello world thing? What the heck is a hello world component, right? So hello world is actually a thing that we can define on our own, like right here. So the cool thing about Vue is, one, you can define your own components. So for example, in HTML, there's like div, p, h1, stuff like that. You can define your own. And the second thing is that those components react to whatever changes happen in your JavaScript variables. So let's say, for example, I want to have a list of names. So I'm just gonna put, let's see, delete this here. And then I'm gonna have a unordered list. Unordered list. Okay, and then inside I want to have a list item. So we've seen this before. I might zoom in a little so it's easier to see. List item. So this we've seen before. So if we were doing normal HTML, the way we might approach like having like 3 names in here would be like put my name here and then put Sangmin below, Sangmin, and then let's say Sophia or whatever. Yeah, whatever. I'm just gonna do that. Okay, so say we wanted to add a name to this list with normal JavaScript, then we'd have to like select this element, create a new list element, insert another one below it and stuff, right? And that's really tedious. And say what if one of us just decided to change our names, right? How would we go about changing the name of the item? So Vue makes this really easy. So the way Vue works is you add a thing here that says data, and then you make it return some data, some initial data. So initially, let's say I want to have the object return like people, and then inside is Kento, Kento and Sangmin. Right. So now here we can literally just use the stuff we defined in here. How do we do it? Basically, we say li for equals, or v4, or this for short, for v4 is equal to, and then here we just say message in, or not message, person in people. All right, and then we close it off. And whoops, what did I do wrong now? Person is defined whenever it is. Okay, so then now we want to put the person's name inside this item, right? We just put double brackets, and then we put person. And what did I do wrong now? Elements iteration, v bind. Okay, so we have to have a key. Let me v key. Oh, key equals person. Right. So what this will do is you'll take this list people right here, and then for each person in this people list, it'll put their name in this list item. So let's try running this. Don't need this hello world thing anymore because I'm not using it. Now let's try running this. npm run serve. Takes a bit to start the first time, but after that, it's very, very fast. So just wait a few seconds. Oh, in the meantime, I can explain something else. So in Vue, there's this thing called methods. So you can run like normal JavaScript in those methods. And the cool thing about it is if you modify this people array over here from anywhere, it actually updates this automatically. So if I were to add a person to this list somewhere in the code, it automatically adds it in what the user sees. So let's try that. Let me open this URL. Framework demo loading. Oh, what? Zoom. Okay. Oh, looks like I have an error. Well, what is it this time? Property or method people is not defined. All right, that's just, oh, date. Whoops, data I meant. That's a typo and a half. All right, there it is. See, so now there is my name and Singman's name on the page. So that's epic. All right, so let's say we want to add a button at the bottom. Button, and then on click. When the button is clicked, let's say we want to add a, I'm just going to add, I don't know, add user, let's say Rishi. Right. So now we have to define this add user function like in normal JavaScript. So let's go down here, and then we just add something called methods. And then in here we say add user this.people.push name. Oh, forgot to pass name here. Like that. So that looks like normal JavaScript, right? You just say, when this button is clicked, let's add the user Rishi, and then Rishi gets passed a name here, and the name gets pushed into this array. So if this were normal JavaScript, the variable would update, but then obviously the elements won't update. But in Vue, if you modify the array, it actually does something to the UI. So let's say add Rishi. And oh, the cool thing about Vue is you don't actually have to reload the page when you update it. It automatically updates. So that's very cool. So add Rishi, bam, see? So even though I did nothing to actually modify the elements on the page, it does it automatically. It's very, very cool. And one other thing you might have noticed is this like very cool V4 thing, where it automatically loops through everything in a list. You can do this for pretty much any type of data. So you can use an object or a list. Yeah. And let's see. Let's do something else. Let's do something also very cool. What shall we do? We can do conditional stuff. So let's say we only want to show their name if their name is a full name. So it contains a space or something, right? So let's say in here, we can just say vif equals person.split space. So if there's a space in the name, dot length is more than 0, or yeah, more than 1. Let me correct this. Yeah. So what this will do is it'll go through each person in the list, and then it'll only show them if their name is a full name. So if we go back to the save and go back to the app, and there's Kento and Singman. Hold on, what did I do wrong? Well, clearly I did something wrong because because it's not actually filtering the person. But let me see. Okay, let me try something here. So let me put their name in the span and then put the VF on the span. So as we learned in our HTML tutorial, span is just like a thing to wrap your text and stuff. So let's put this VF here. So person.split space dot length is more than 1. Theoretically, in theory, God damn. All right, well that didn't work, but I also started like Vue like 3 or 4 days ago, and I thought it was very cool, so I just wanted to share it with everyone. Well, the way it's supposed to work is if you put a VF, it checks if this condition is true, and then it only shows it if the condition is true. I'm not sure why exactly it's not working in this case, but yeah. I don't know if I click this one. Nope. Okay. Well, looks like I learned something wrong.
Wait, Kento, I think you have like a colon in the VF. I don't know if that colon's supposed to be there.
Oh, wait, I'm actually stupid. Wait, was that actually why? It is actually why. Okay, so turns out I'm just stupid and I put a colon. So let me let me just put this back. All right. So oh, I see now. I see now. Okay. I see. Okay. So this person's name will only show if their name is a full name. And as you can see here, yeah, there's no name. So even if you add Rishi, it just adds a blank. All right. So let's say now that we want to update a name in the list. If we were to do this in like normal JavaScript, we will have to do update the array first, and then find the element on the page that has their name, and then update that element as well. So let's see how simple this is in Vue. Let's say update user name, old name. Actually, let's just say index in the list. Index and then new name. Right. So this function, you give it the index in the list. So if you wanted to update my name, you put 0 and then the new name. Let's do this.people or whoops, this.set this.people index new name. Right, so what this will do is it'll take the index. So if you give it 0, that's me, and then it'll take this array and update it with the new name. Let's try this out with a button. Let's just add a Let's just add a button here. Update user. And then here, let's say 0, and I want to update it to my full name. And update my name. Right, so if we go back, there's a new button, update my name. So if I click this, it automatically shows because now it's a full name. So that's pretty cool, right? And there's so many powerful things like loops, conditionals, and stuff in Vue that I think we should really look into it for building our app for the rest of the semester. Yeah, let me know what you think of this, because if you guys like it, I think we'll go through with it. All right, that's pretty much it for my Vue demo.
Okay. So I'll post the sign up code. Let's see.
Sign in code.
Sign in code. It is, if I could just load the pages. Let's see. MVC. Let's see. Chat.
Code is MVC?
Yes.
All right. Well, the code is MVC. So have a good one, folks. See you next week.
Neato. You guys have questions or R2JS?
R2JS. Wow.
R2JS.
All right, guys. See you guys next week.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
R2JS.
All right, I'm gonna end the recording here. If you guys have questions, you can ask it now.